Welcome to the Happy Empath. I am Trisha Dyka, and today I want to chat with you about shielding, about creating these protective bubbles filled with light that we put around ourselves. And I want to ask the question, do you think it really helps you? I'm going to share a story. When I first found out I was an empath, and mind you, you're an empath your whole life, you're born one. But when we start to realize what we are, one of the things somebody had recommended for me was to create a bubble, fill it with energy, protective light, and I won't deal with negative energy. Well, this backfired on me so bad. I actually was brought to my knees. Yeah. And I tried it more than once, and I tried it different ways. Because I tried to play with it, thinking that, I wasn't doing it right. Maybe there was other bubbles I could use, other protective energies, and basically what I realized is I was afraid of those negative energies. So anything that you're afraid of, you're bringing towards you. So you're saying, I only want to feel good, happy emotions. I don't want to feel anything other than that. So those things you don't want to feel start pressing in on you. Those bubbles that I created actually imploded, and it was just a mess. It was a mess. And I felt it 10 times worse. And then it just kept progressively getting worse. First off, it would drain me because I kept trying to stop to create this energy, to create this bubble. And then I felt those negative emotions even more so. And it was to the point that at one point, it was like everything just came in on me. It imploded, and I was an emotional wreck. So I gave up completely on this protective bubble around me to shield me from these other emotions. Because here's the deal. We're human beings. We're meant to feel all of them. And as empaths, we are as well. But if you learn to decipher what energy is yours and what is not, the other stuff, negative and positive, because we feel just as many positive emotions as we do negative that are not ours, but we never question those positive ones, do we? So it actually just flows through us even more. And I have found the happier that we are as individuals within ourselves, the easier things flow through us. That is why using your symbol, and mind you, I know there's one that is for emotions. So if you have not done that, make sure you have one in place. Pick something. It can be anything. And just ask the universe to show you that symbol when what you're feeling does not belong to you. And a second symbol that I use is for collective consciousness. So you could pick a symbol for collective consciousness. You could also pick a symbol, because several empaths, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed the other day, and I'm in a couple of empath groups. I just like to see what's going on, and I've noticed that the vibe in a lot of them is negative. So I stay out of a lot of them, and that's why I created the Happy Empath Facebook group. I want to empower you guys. I want you to truly love being an empath and love your life and not let this gift take you over. So one of the things that somebody was talking about was the fact that shielding was not helping her. Creating these bubbles was making it worse, draining her. And then she was also very telepathic. And yes, as empaths, we can actually hear other people's hear like their thoughts in their head. We're like these huge antennas, and we just hear these things as well as feel them. So you can actually create a symbol for that as well. Don't do too much at one time, because I think it'll overwhelm you, and you're trying to just, I want you to do one, get used to it, add in another one, get used to it, and add another one if that is what you want to do. And on top of that, by being open and having your heart center open with a gentle breeze coming through you actually helps clear all these negative emotions that are coming through you. And I'm always saying, I set my intention in the morning, but you could do it throughout the day. And that is, please have a gentle breeze coming through me all day long, clearing out anything that does not belong to me. And that goes for positive emotions. And here's the other thing I want to pose to you guys. Negative, anger, sadness, depression, and then you've got the positive, the happiness, the love. What if we stopped labeling all of this? Because emotions are just energy in motion. So what if you stopped focusing on what's negative and positive, and just let it flow through you. And I also had a conversation with a dear friend, mentor, and healer of mine, Sharon Sudar, and I may have mispronounced her last name, so if I did, please forgive me. And I'm going to just read a couple of notes I took when we were having our conversation, and I'm actually going to give you her website for you to go check her out as well, because she works with epigenetics and DNA. And what we were talking about is by creating these bubbles in the shield around us to protect ourselves from this energy, it's actually fear-based, which creates fight or flight response. And what that's doing is raising your hormones, your cortisol levels, and your adrenaline. All of this stuff gets out of balance because you're so afraid of all these negative stuff that it just keeps coming to you. And then what is happening is it's jacking all of these other things up in you. Your cortisol goes high, your hormone levels are getting out of balance, your adrenaline, because you want to fight or flight. And we're trying to run away from this because we don't understand it, and it's hurting us. So all of this, the result ends up putting us in adrenal fatigue, which increases our inflammation levels within our body. And it causes us to get sick. And it causes us to get diseases. So how long this continues will depend on how sick we get. And I'm serious, guys. Because I guess like right about when I was 40, I must have realized, 40, 41 is when I realized I was an empath. But years and years and years of fight and flight, of adrenaline, of all of these things took its toll on my body. And it actually brought, inflammation levels were so high. I was having a reaction to a lot of things. I ended up getting very sick. Chat for another time. And it made me really wake up to what was going on. So instead of doing your fight or flight, be open. Try to be open as much as possible and to stay grounded. Let me see. Basically, the end result is you are here to be one with everybody, to experience life, to understand others, to not push away and start embracing the divine within you, the divine within others. And of course, guys, there's going to be different levels, right? Some people are going to get it, and some people just aren't going to get it. Some people are going to love you, and other people are going to talk about you. So, it's up to us to be protective of ourselves, of our time, of where we're putting our energy. I'm not talking about creating a bubble. I'm talking about who we are as people. So I want you to keep that in mind as well. When you're thinking of being protective, I want you to be more protective of who you are as a person and where you spend your time, where you give your resources, who you're giving your resources to. I want you to stop and think about that. It's super, super important. All right, guys. If you have any questions, any comments, post them below. If you want and don't want to post it in front of anybody else, send me an email at trisha@trishadaiga.com.